Hi there, Taylor Hemness here with another episode of Faith in KC, coming to you from 41 Action News. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had an episode, so welcome back if you have not been able to listen in a while. Hope you've had a chance to catch up on some of our previous episodes. We've done 15 or so far, and they're available via podcast, which you may be listening to that right now, or online, kshb.com, or right here on Facebook as well. This week is a little bit different, and one that we haven't had one quite like this in a while, because it's about an observance that's going on right now. I am not super familiar with the celebration observance of Ramadan, which we're in the middle of right now, an observance from the Muslim faith that I wanted to learn more about. So I reached out to Imam Jamal Shakur. He's my guest this week. He's Imam at the Al-Inshirah Islamic Center on Troost Avenue here in Kansas City, Missouri. And I wanted to, one, give him an opportunity to talk a little bit about the Muslim faith itself, because he's only the second Imam I've had on the Faith in KC series, and talk just a little bit about what people should know. You'll hear him talk about some of the similarities between that and other religions, including Christianity, that you may not be aware of. But I really wanted to just learn more about this celebration. As you'll hear me mention in the episode, I think most people are at least somewhat familiar with Easter and or Passover, but Ramadan is right in this same time of year, and you may not know a whole lot about it. I definitely didn't. For one thing, Muslim observers, members of the Islamic faith that celebrate and observe Ramadan, they're fasting between sunup and sundown every day, and not just from food. There are things that they are encouraged to not do during that time. And he talked to me about exactly what that means and why it is, and why the observance is in place. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn something from it. I definitely did, which is always great in these Faith in KC episodes. You can reach out to me at taylor.hemness@kshb.com. You can look for me obviously on Facebook, and then on Instagram and Twitter at Taylor Hemness on both of those. Reach out and let me know what you think, what other episodes we could have, other people to talk to, conversations, topics you think would be worthwhile on this Faith in KC series. But as always, thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy. So I'm here with Imam Jamal Shakur from the Al-Inshirah Islamic Center in Kansas City. You guys are on Troost Avenue, right, Imam?
That is correct. 3663 Troost Avenue.
How long have you been there?
I have been there for since 2003.
Okay.
So
you may have noticed, and we've talked about this a little bit before, you are my second Imam to feature on the Faith in KC series. Sure. And the reason I reached out is because we are in the first week or so of Ramadan right now. And I don't know a lot about the holiday, and or about the observance, and I wanted to talk to you about that. But first, I want to give you a chance to tell people what you'd like people to know about Islam or about the Muslim faith that maybe people don't know. Just you get a chance to educate people a little bit here for a minute. What would you like people to know about the faith they may not?
Well, first of all, I like to tell the people that we're so much alike in ways. I think most of the people's misconception about Muslims was that we don't know or we believe in Christ. We have terms that we call him the Messiah, messenger of God. He is mentioned more in the Quran than our Prophet Muhammad. And incidentally, not just our prophet, but all those prophets are our prophets as well, from Abraham, Jacob, David, Noah, Abraham. And so we acknowledge him as not only just a prophet, but a messenger of God, which is a title that is really, really, really highly lifted in the Muslim faith as a messenger of God. So those are some of the things that we really like to tell or ask people to consider, so they know how much or how close we are together. So even in the Quran, it mentions Jesus and his mother. There is in the Quran a chapter that's mentioned after Jesus' mother, Maryam, the 19th chapter in the Quran. And it speaks of the miraculous way that Jesus was born. And so those are some of the things that we like to inform people how much alike we really are as a group of people that have our faith, our religious talked about a lot. So
what's the reaction, especially from, and you and I have never met, and I've talked about a lot openly on this series, that I was raised in the Church of Christ. I've been a Christian since I was about 9 years old. But what's the reaction from people whenever you share that message? Is it surprise that Jesus is mentioned in the Quran? Is it shock? What's the reaction when you talk to members of other faiths about those similarities?
It actually is for Jesus to be mentioned so much in the world. It's unbelievable that people don't know how revered he really is around the world, especially to the Muslim faith. Actually, part of my faith is that I can't be Muslim unless I believe in Jesus Christ. And so that takes people back a little bit to know that our similarities about Jesus and how he was born is mentioned in the Quran in a very miraculous way without the aid of a male intervention. And so those same stories, the same story is mentioned in the Holy Quran, that he was asked, his mother was asked the same story almost in the Bible. How can I have a son when no man has touched me? And so when the Quran says, kun fayakun, which means be and it is, and it came about. So those are the things that we have good discussions about with our brethren in faith. So that's one of the things.
Tell me about the Al-Inshirah Islamic Center. Is it a large gathering? How many people are there? What's your congregation like?
It varies at time, in particular. It's really been terrible since the COVID-19.
Sure.
We have changed the narrative because of most of our community is a senior community. And so that has been a concern about the COVID-19. So we have restrictions. We have had restrictions. As you know, or you may know, Friday is our most centered day of the week where the congregation is asked to come out and perform and have congressional prayer. And so our congressional prayers are shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, when we stand in line for prayer. And so COVID-19 really changed that dynamic to where our services is just still virtual right now. Friday, as I said, is our holy day, our most uplifted day that we have. And so that has put a change on how we have worshiped as far as congregation. We're planning in the process of when we do come back, what that will look like. There are other congregations around Kansas City, around the world, are social distancing in their mosque. Our mosque is little. Our attendance can vary from 80 to 40 people. And so in a small setting, small gathering, and so that puts a strain on having what we would call Juma prayer. And this is today, Juma prayer today. And Ramadan. With Ramadan and Juma together, you have, as you would have in most religions where that special day, people would come out and it would be a larger number of people than regular times. And so this has really been a difference for our community since last year. Last year, when we didn't know what COVID-19 would look like, how it would respond and how we would respond, we quickly decided that it would be better for our community to just do the virtuals and instead of having a congregational prayer. And we're still at that right now for our community.
I want to ask you about Ramadan in a moment, but the other thing I wanted to ask you about too, that you mentioned that, people who may not be familiar with the Muslim faith may not realize the central role that prayer plays and the scheduled prayers throughout the day, the times that there are times to pray together. You mentioned that typically during some of those prayer services, you are shoulder to shoulder with people, and that has not been available for a lot of the last 12 months or so. What is it like for you to not have, how does that change the prayer time and prayer service for you to not have your brothers and sisters right there with you?
Well, that's been a tough decision to make, believe me, because you get the brunt end of the criticism for not allowing people to come in and pray together. So it's been a very tough dilemma for me to, along with the board, we have a board and we made a decision that it would be better for us not to come together for congregational prayer until this is over. And when we do Friday prayer, there's very limited amount of people that come, and we still have the social distancing with a few that's there. And so what is encouraged, though, however, is people can resume their posture into their homes, be more sound. I heard you mention prayer in your home at 2:30 in the morning. Our prayers can go, particularly Ramadan, to 12 o'clock midnight, and then going home and starting all over again. So people can put a checklist on some of the things they could do to be better Muslim. So even if it's praying at home more, where they would normally pray at the mosque, where they can, as we would say in our religious discussion, do not make your home tombs. So therefore, you can actually pray at home and still get the same reward and the same benefit of praying as in your mosque. Now, telling people that may be a trick, but it's still notable that you can get just as many rewards for essentially being faithful.
Let's talk about Ramadan, because I think that even people who are not of a faith background or from a faith community have an understanding of Easter and what the observance of Easter is, even Passover and an understanding of what the Passover feast is during the last few weeks. Maybe there's not that understanding of Ramadan. What is the purpose of the observance of Ramadan? Well, tell me about the holiday.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, we like to say that we get all our central commands from the Quran. And in the Quran, it specifically says that, "O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, even as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you can learn self-restraint or God consciousness." So first, the commandment lets us know that people have always fasted throughout the faith. And so Ramadan is the month when the Quran was revealed. And so we spend that time during the month appreciating God's message to mankind. And so we do that by fasting so that we can observe a day, a month of getting closer to God by fasting. A lot of things happen during that fast. People say it's a tune-up for once a year. All the things that are bombarded at you, now you have an opportunity to step away. And we find out how essential it is not to eat compared to eating 24/7. You know, we go to the icebox all the time, and food can be a big dilemma from your actual focus throughout the course of the day. What I'm going to eat for lunch, what I'm going to eat for dinner, what I'm going to snack. And so you take that drive away that you have that is built into you to eat, and you find yourself really focused on other things. What did I need to do to help the next person who's not eating? And when you're fasting, you really find out what that person who is not eating, what he really feels like. Yeah. And this is something that you find yourself embarrassed when we can go and deliver and eat anytime we want to, while the homeless, the people who don't eat during the course of the day, is this what he's feeling like during the course of the day? And your body lets you know how important eating is, but how important it is for your fellow man to not eat. And so those are some of the things about Ramadan. And of course, prayer during the month of Ramadan. It's considered, the month is considered a month of mercy, because God has implemented an institution, or we like to say a prescribed way to get closer to him. And in that those hours of being more exact about your prayers, being more charitable, the stomach that we talk about, that is a muscle that works all the time. Through that, you find out it's not working. It's one of the muscles not working during the course of the day. And so you can be delivered from some ailments during that particular time, because people ingest, and then their ingestion of eating, sometimes we get diseased. Yes, we pick up things, and so your stomach is working, and the rest of your body is trying to filter through the fatty tissues that's lying somewhere in your body doing nothing, and so that body's looking for it. Okay, I need to have something to eat. So the remedy for some of those things are relieved by us fasting. You become more clear about your mission. about what you're supposed to do. Why? You're not focusing on eating during the course of the day. You're really focusing on other things. Number one, God, and then number 2 and 3 and 4, other things that can be very essential to you and your family. And so this institution for approximately 29, 30 days gives us an opportunity to change our direction and our focus. And then we find ourselves at the end of Ramadan with hopefully a different perspective about the rest of the year that's coming up.
It's from sunup to sundown every day, not just weekdays. It's every day. Is that right?
Yes, every day. No food, no drink,
no physical intimacy with a significant other. Right? Is that
right? That's correct.
Yeah.
It says that he who does not do away with bad talk, cussing, swearing, or other things, there's no need to fast, because your fast is as though you were just going hungry. And so
there's got to be a purpose to it. There's got to be a mindset.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Be more purposeful during that day when you're fasting, and realize there's some benefit. There's so many discussions about the rewards of fasting, and the deeds are multiplied by the Creator. For a person who intends to do a good deed, the deed is actually written off and checked off as though you did the deed. Even if you didn't, your intentions, and then you carry out the good deed, is multiplied, of course, because of this. And then one thing great about the month of Ramadan, I could sit and tell you, we could be good friends, best of friends, and I'm sitting telling you next to you, man, it's tough fasting today. But guess what? Only God knows you're fasting. And so that's considered one of the most purest acts of worship, because that's clearly between you and God.
Yeah.
And he knows. And if he's writing down our deeds, then guess what? That deed to go towards you is doing a good deed. So
right. It's not about making a big deal about the fact that I'm fasting today and everyone should know it.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Same as the Christian religion.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. It's almost called to go into a closet and pray situation. It should just be between you and God. It doesn't have to be a big deal.
Sometimes you want to, believe me.
That's right. I believe it. Imam, how long have you been a member of the Muslim faith? Were you raised in the faith, or were you?
No, that's a good question. We who come to Islam, we like to say that term is called reverted, because we believe that there was something in our nature, an inherited nature, that even coming into this world, we would know that if nobody delivered any message to us, we felt that we would have a nature that would speak to us and let us know that there is a creator. What we would call it would be different, of course, based upon where we grow up or where we live, but something inherent, we believe that. And so one of the things that brought me closer to Islam was that the fact that it talked about the worship of God and God alone, which in our religion is called Tawheed. That means the oneness of God in his rulership. He needs no partners to help him rule the creation. One in his prayer, he needs any intercessor. He can hear his prayers, your prayers to him directly. And one in his names and his qualities and attributes. So that stood out to me and helped me, although I did come through the Nation of Islam, and then I evolved from the nation into what we call the practice, or the Sunni, or the Sunnah practice, which is following the teachings, the approvals or disapprovals of Muhammad the Prophet. And so that's how I became involved in Islam in a journey. A journey of grew up as a Christian. Mom sent me to church every week with tithe money, although it didn't get there all the time. And into listening and reading and discovering that there were other things to listen to, and so consequently I became Muslim.
Do you mind, I'm going to put you on the spot, do you mind sharing a story, if you have one, of a particular Ramadan in your past that really stuck with you? Was there a month of fasting, of this observance, that you remember on a regular basis?
That's a good question. That's an unexpected question, but it's a good question, because now I kind of have to think for a second, because all of them has been a real challenge And I think one of the things that was a real challenge for me, I had a hip surgery during the month of Ramadan. And as you know, our ritual of praying has to bend and bow down.
Right.
And that became such a challenge because I had to sit in the chair. And however, that's easier, but you really feel a little bit not connected. We say essentially in Islam that the closer we get to God is by putting our forehead on the ground, because it shows total submission to God. And so that practice in any order that for us as Muslims that's not being done, even if it's sitting, can be a challenge, not being able to place your head on the ground in total submission to the Creator. And so I had to go through that during the month of Ramadan, where some of the great things about Ramadan and the concessions of being in congregation is that even at the end of the night is called Iftar. And Iftar is where the people come together to break the fast, pray, and then go eat. You do a prayer, evening prayer, and you go eat. And then that camaraderie has been very essential, because you go and clean up. Even if you have to go and clean up, the whole community takes part. And we have some great female cooks in our community, and they along with brothers that do come out and help cook, you can get their admiration. And so I remember doing that on a number of occasions, but the ones that I had my hip replaced during the month of Ramadan, it was memorable because it wasn't as easy as I would like for it to have to be. So all the beginning of Ramadan starts out difficult. Those first 2 or 3 days, we're not eating and still doing the same work that you may be doing can become a challenge, and you know it's special.
I believe that. As in my particular faith community and faith background, there's not necessarily a long-term observance. I mean, the closest I can think to it is potentially maybe Lent in the Catholic observances of a several weeks long. I'm foregoing this thing, or I'm doing this action for a long term. What is it? What has it meant to you? What does it mean to you that it's not just a day or a week, that it's you gotta kind of settle into almost a new mindset for 4 or 5 weeks where you're really operating on a completely different level? Do you think that does it carry more meaning for you, I guess is the way to ask this, than it would be if it were a day or a week?
Oh, I think so, because even it's encouraged in the religion to fast on Mondays and Thursdays if you can, or 3 days a week. And
outside of Ramadan, you mean?
And even right after Ramadan, there's a 6-day fast in the month. Ramadan's called in the 9th month, but there's the 10th month called the month of Shawwal. And it's encouraged for the Muslim to fast 6 days. A lot of our religions are based on blessings of what you can do. And so 6 days after Ramadan is considered a great time. But Ramadan itself is a reformation. You can actually see from the beginning to the end how much you have changed, or how much you have gained, or how far away you were. 30 days and has been proven even that most habits can be broken in 30 days. So there's Muslims. I don't smoke, but there's Muslims who smoke. And so this is the time they can't smoke. And so they tell me, or those I've discussed with them, given them another opportunity to stop smoking. Or there's Muslims that drink. Unfortunately, the people are human. There's Muslims, there's people just like other people in other faiths. There's Muslims that unfortunately take drugs. Muslims that have all type of problems just like other people. We're all human and have those issues. And this is an opportunity for them, and even myself in the lesser things that I have to do, to try to get away from those things and change the narrative of what I was doing that may be off kilter. And then as I slowly come back online with maybe second week, you can actually feel and see how easy it becomes. And then if you're at home, you actually get a chance to see that, how is my refrigerator getting food in it when normally food is leaving it? And you actually can see the difference, especially if you go out to the mosque and eat every night at the mosque. and then you come home, you bring food home, you got food in there, and you find yourself with more food. So you see some of the benefits. You actually see some of the physical benefits of the fast itself, even in something as minuscule as food. But even though we don't look at it like that, but really we eat all the time, we find ourselves that food is really can be really a big deterrence to a lot of our direction.
Sure.
So,
what am I to do if I'm practicing or observing Ramadan and I have a bad day and I don't fast the way that I should? What is it? Is there a specific prayer that I'm to ask, or is it just do better tomorrow? What happens then?
We say God is so merciful, very merciful.
Right.
He's a merciful God. And even in the Quran, he says when you're sick or you traveling, don't fast. Make it up, make that day up. And so we do have those days, even if they're mentally sick days, which you may be disturbed about something. And so it would be better for you to not fast instead of breaking your fast by doing something that would be in violation of the fast itself. And he even tells us that do not make this religion hard for us. And a lot of times we don't take those concessions.
Right.
We want to stick with it. And then we find ourselves in a situation that may be disturbing or not appreciated by the scholars and the sheikhs in the religion. So, yeah.
Have you ever had an instance while trying to observe Ramadan where, and I hope the answer to this is no, but there was some sort of confrontation with someone outside the faith community where you were out and about and, I'm not eating right now. Maybe you were in a public place or something like that. Have you ever had a negative experience because of the fast you were trying to observe?
Man.
I'm glad you can't think of one off the top of your head. Honestly, I was worried the answer was going to be yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm human, and so I have, and I only say that because there's so many different challenges to the fasting people, because people all the time, even when they do know you fast, they will eat, and out of forgetfulness they would say, "Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't know you wanted any of this lobster or steak." And even though we're not supposed to eat those type of meals during Ramadan, we're supposed to eat a poor man's meal during Ramadan. We find ourselves challenged. There's challenges all the time, because once I have to reiterate that we are human beings. And so I think that's one of the tests that God puts in front of us to let us know that we are human and that we're going to make mistakes and we're going to be human. We're going to fall. The story of Adam in the religion is very indicative to what we believe, because here he was in the garden, as we say, and he was tempted. And after he realized that he was tempted and lost his place in the garden, he and Eve, then they repented. And so that story is there for a lot of different purposes, to understand that no matter where we at, no matter what status we have, we're all susceptible to making mistakes. And so that's a great lesson for us, that even in the month of Ramadan, I work for the health department. And so I have a challenging job as well. And so
especially right now. Especially right now.
Sure. So I have had some situations where they've been challenging with the COVID-19, unfortunate violence in the community. I work for Aim for Peace. So those things have been challenging every year for me in the month of Ramadan, because we say that when Ramadan comes, it says that the Creator, for a purpose, have actually, for the individual who fasts, have put a chain on Shaitan. So the devil, as we say, Shaitan in Islam, is our adversary. And so for during the month of Ramadan, it is mentioned that your fasting, your prayers, your charity, all has a restriction on the Satan or Satan, mm-hmm. so that he won't be so tempting for you, although maybe other people, but your diligence with the fast keeps him off your back, in so many words. So
the last thing I want to ask you about, and I want to give you a chance for either or both of a shout out or a call out here, and we'll call it that way. I think that unfairly, too often people equate certain physical attributes to someone that they believe to be Muslim. That person should look that way. That's often not you as an African-American man. That's normally not what we think of as, or if you were white and we were having this conversation, we would think of someone with a different skin color than yours or than mine. And I think it's important to realize that pulling apart of faith and race is an important thing we all need to be doing, and stop assuming anything about people. There's been some rough time over the last year, especially in Kansas City and all over, of believing things about people based on your assumptions of them, often about race, but about some other things too. What have been some examples that you've been proud of over the last year, we'll say, in the faith community, not just in the Muslim community and your community, but from people of faith across Kansas City, and maybe some examples of people that of times that you wish we could be a little bit better than what we are?
That's a tough one, Taylor. You really did me that one. You really got me on that one.
I told you, shout out and call out. I'm going to let you do both.
Well, for the faith community, I really acknowledge their coming together for the human family and recognizing it. Even though I think we've been more tested than anybody, the faith, because of the isolation and the sickness that some of our members have partake, but that faith community is still the backbone of our community. And even as I mentioned even as you were talking about praying in the morning, man, that is such a great feeling to hear people of all faiths really taking notice that something's going on, that we need to come together and ask God for more guidance and ask Him for more help. A lot of the communities have reached out to the communities with food in this time, and that is great, because some people are really suffering with food, donations, clothing, so many different areas that I've been to some of the food banks that they really had enough food for people from everywhere, all walks of life, to come and get food. And I've been appreciative, because I can even go and take some of that food and deliver it to people that I know need it, where other times it wouldn't be so available. So for the faith-based, I want to shout out to them. And I have to shout out to the organization that I work for, the health department, for doing the things that they have do to make people feel more inclusive about the virus and how to get protection, how to get care, making it available for people in a time where people are not sure about it right now. You know, so I wanted to say shout out to the Kansas City Health Department, people of emergency who are on first line, that actually have to go out and physically deal with people. I know the police department gets bad raps at times. They still first line of people that has to go out. It's just people at the hospital. I go to the hospital and I see the people, the nurses, the chaplains, the people that are there on the ground floor of this COVID-19, that are there putting their lives at stake. They really need to be a shout out to them, the teachers who have waited to get back into the schools to help students that are not around, that are lacking, being that presence, that social presence. Shout out to them. My wife's a teacher as well, so I put that in there for her. So, and you guys at the news station that are informing people with, as we say, good and accurate news.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I really do listen to 41. I like your platform. I've met some people there. So you guys, and for this segment, man, you really be appreciated to come across as being honest and inclusive about what the work you guys are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I didn't hear a call out there. If you want to take an opportunity for the faith community, yours or anyone else's, that where we could be better, that you've noticed, I'm happy to hear it.
Well, I try to be inclusive to everybody that is doing good work, so I won't get that message about why come I didn't get a call out. So I've learned from some of the politicians I've been around, and shout out to the mayor for all the things that he's trying to do with the homeless. I have to say, during the winter when he opened up the facility downtown for the homeless.
Yeah. It's meaningful.
Yeah.
There's people that need that big time.
They really did. They really did. Some people didn't like it, but how could you not reach
Sure.
out to the homeless? So yeah, I guess he ends up with that shout out. So
Sure.
what he,
Jamal, before I let you go, if someone has listened to you and is interested in coming and visiting your Islamic center, what can they do? When is a good time that someone could come and find out more?
please just stop by on Fridays at 1 o'clock to 1:30. We'd be happy to talk to you. Just give you a little more insight on what we like to do. People can reach out to me at 816-349-5252, and I'd be more than happy to help with some questions or some things that, and even if I said some things that may not please some people, I'd be more than happy to discuss it. I'm not a scholar. I'm just someone who has tried to live it to the best of my ability. So please do that. And there's other people that you know in other faiths that belong to Al-Inshirah. Reach out to them. We've been around. The community has been around for quite a while. So I'd like to say that.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I've learned something today. I hope the people that watch this learn something today. I've got a better understanding of at least Ramadan now. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And tell everyone there, Cynthia and Dia, thank you so much. Another young man, he's been there for a while. I can't think of his name, but just tell everybody on staff, Shakur said, thank you.
I'll do that. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, have a nice day.
Thank you.